Here's an example of what we're going to make today. I'm hoping that once you learn to work with Heat and Bond Ultra Hold, you'll be able to make all kinds of shapes for embellishments and to add to costumes.
Next time on the Patreon,
Here's a star that I made at one point in time.
Stuff like
very
this.
hard,
How
and you
strong
can use
that
it
is.
for all kinds of things.
It's got stuff on the back.
I attached it to a bra before.
You can make it any shape you want. Subscribe
So
to the
I hope that you'll
Patreon.
give this a try
and
with
you'll
me.
get the November video on how to make shapes. Look at that. Hey, all right. So, welcome back to my little series, Shut Your Craft Hole. So today we're going to do working with no-sew ultra hold interfacing. That's this stuff right here. Heat and Bond Ultra Hold. There are a couple different brands. It's just this is the one that I'm familiar with. So today you'll need this, the Heat and Bond. You'll need some sewing weights. I prefer Murano glass for some reason. I think they're fancy and fun. You'll need a stencil. I'm using a cookie cutter, which I'll show you in a bit, and I have to make some eye shapes. So I've cut a little quick stencil for myself. I'm also using Easy Felt. I like to use a lot of Easy Felt scraps because I use a lot of it, so I have lots of different odd pieces laying around. But and it doesn't have to be completely clean or perfect. I've had this piece laying around for a while. It's kind of yucky. It's got some dye on it, but I'm going to use that up because I very specifically need white, and I also need yellow because I'm making gold stars. So I need to make sure that my wrong side fabric, which is the felt, isn't going to clash too much with my right side fabric, which is this gold. So we're going to get started. You'll need all of these items as well as scissors and an iron. All right, let's go. So the first thing to know about Heat and Bond Ultra Hold is that it has two sides. One is this paper. It feels like sticker paper, adhesive paper, and the other is this shiny textured front. This is the glue. So this is what the fabric is going to stick to, and then you peel off the paper and then activate the other side. So we'll go through this step by step together. So this stuff in the red package specifically is Ultra Hold. So that's for really hard things, it says on the front. Great for denim, fabric patches, appliques. So this is what is going to give you that hard, fully solid feel. There's another one. Let me get the other one over here. It's purple. It's lightweight. So this is for like backing, say, like purses, coin purses, quilting, things like that. So that's something that you can explore later if you want to think about using Heat and Bond interface if you're making, say, cuffs in a shirt or something like that. So that's something that you can explore. But for this, we are going to use the red package, Ultra Hold. So I want to show you what the end result is going to be. So I did this the other day with my right side fabric, which is gold lame. And I was able to fuse it to this Easy Felt, and it's really hard. It's going to make some great shapes. It's really going to stand up to some use. So as you can see, it's fused to the Easy Felt. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. So the first thing you want to do is heat up your iron to a nice medium heat. So while I'm waiting for my iron to heat up, I wanted to show you a couple other things that you can add to your arsenal. Copy paper and parchment paper might be really helpful when you want to iron everything on. Sometimes the fabric itself can't handle the heat of the iron. If you're using a lot of lycras, they might get kind of melty. So parchment paper is rated up to, I believe, 425 degrees. So it will handle it and it won't burn. And copy paper is also a good thing that you can use. So always set your iron to medium first, because that way you can sort of test it and see if it's going to melt or maybe show the image of the iron on the fabric, and you can adjust the temperature accordingly so that you don't ruin your fabric, because you do need quite a high heat and a firm, fast hand to apply it. Okay, so now I'm ready to go. I've got my felt here, and it's not great felt, but around here, like, I use every scrap. I really don't throw things away, and I'm not too worried about everything being absolutely pristine. I accidentally got some watercolor dye on this, so it won't matter. I'm going to use it anyways. So here's my Heat and Bond Ultra Hold, and I'm going to roll it out and take some quick measurements. So I have everything all rolled out and lined up to the edge, and I'm just going to take my rotary cutter. You can use scissors if you want, and I'm just going to slice down the extra. So now I have exactly as much as I need to cover my piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my felt over to the yucky side, and I'm going to cover it with my Heat and Bond, and I'm going to put the shiny side down. So the shiny side will bond to my wrong side fabric, just like that. And then I'm actually going to put, to be on the safe side, I'm going to put some parchment paper underneath. So now I'm going to take my iron, and I'm going to go nice and fast from the center out. And this stage only takes a second because the heat is going through the paper back and right onto the felt. And because the felt is really porous, it will instantly absorb that adhesive. So after you do something like this, it's going to be really hot. It might even feel too hot to touch. But as you let it cool down, that's what's going to make it really stiff. See, I can barely bend it. It's really stiff now. So once it's back down to room temperature, roughly, you can peel the paper off, just like a sticker. If there's any spots that you didn't get, now you'll know where you need to add your iron. Like right here, I feel like I need to go over that again. So I'm going to do that really quick. Give it just another. You can go over it as many times as you want. There's really no limit or rule. But you have to let it cool so that you can take it off. See, it's really flimsy when it's hot, and then it stiffens up. And then you'll be able to remove the backing. And when you remove the backing, it's just like a sticker. So you can see the shiny adhesive that's left. So now this adhesive is going to be bonded to my right side fabric. So now I'm going to take my right side fabric and put it over my felt. So this is how it's going to be when I fuse it, because I need to make gold stars for a costume. And I know it's not pretty at the moment. People are always like, clean your studio before you make a video. But I'm a working artist, and things are crazy around here. It's a hot mess sometimes. This is where I use my sewing weights. And I'm just going to trim the excess off right now with my rotary cutter, just real quick. Let's see. Now I have a perfect square here. I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to lay it on top of the adhesive and make sure there's no threads caught underneath. So the thing that I have learned about fusing lame, because I've done it a lot, is that sometimes the adhesive can bleed through the fabric a little bit because it's a loose weave. So the tighter the weave, the more time you're going to need with the iron. So I'm going to use this parchment paper to sort of protect what I'm doing. And then I'm going to get to ironing. Now you can't test this while it's really hot. You have to wait for it to cool down. And it's easiest to do this with large pieces of felt. I try to do it with like little tiny pieces of felt because I'm really weird about wasting things. I hate waste. So I'll do it with these little tiny scraps, and it's really, really difficult. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this. Okay, so now, put my iron over here. My parchment paper. Now I have it fused. It's completely fused. So I can't ever take this fabric off of this felt. So now I have my piece that I made yesterday. And notice, here's a good tip. Notice how this piece has some bubbles right here. Okay, so that was from yesterday. Maybe I didn't quite get it all. So I can just like real quick, just over that spot. Just super fast. And then that like takes care of that. Now it's a lot smoother. So I'm going to actually run these pieces through my Cricut later because I want perfectly formed stars. But if I wasn't going to use my Cricut, I would just take my stencil, or I like to use cookie cutters sometimes for complicated shapes, and I would just draw around them with my pen and cut them out. So you can have any kind of shape that you want and it will stay really sharp. But if you want to do really detailed things that almost look like laser cut, you're going to need a cutting machine to do that. But you can certainly do easy shapes by hand, and you can, of course, look at this nice pretty piece of felt. You can, of course, draw your shapes all over if you want, and then cut them out. And you can do that from the back so that no pen marks are showing. You can use tailor's chalk if it's a really dark fabric. It's up to you. So now I'm going to move on to a different fabric that I'm going to fuse. So yesterday I was working on this video and my phone started to flash no storage. So maybe that's why it's a little bit of a hot mess today. But I had started this fabric because I need to do some evil eye motifs for a costume. So I chose black felt. Right here you can see black easy felt because I know that part of my applique is going to be shown and I don't want it to be obvious or have a lot of contrast. I could have used a blue felt, but I just had black and I thought that that would work well because the rest of the costume is a dark eggplant purple. So I was able to fuse to the felt no problem, but once I started to fuse the lycra, it wasn't fusing well. It kind of wants to come up a little bit, and that's because it's so thick. So I'm actually going to show you how long it takes to fuse this with the iron. I've done a little bit. I'm going to use my parchment paper. And I'm going to get my iron. And now this fabric will melt. If I put the iron directly on it, I can see all kinds of iron marks. So this is an example of like just hanging out for a minute with your iron. You can kind of let it sit for a while. And I'm going to go all the way down the piece. Just give it a little extra for that. I'm going to turn my iron off because I know that I'm done with it. And I'm going to just cut it with my rotary. If you have a rotary, they can be really finicky sometimes. They require blade changes pretty frequently, and I'm always cutting myself too. So now I have this wonderful shiny teal fully fused, and I'm going to make my evil eyes for my purple suit costume. So normally I would do this on the back with tailor's chalk, but just for purposes of this video, I'm just gonna go with my weight. I know I need about 10 eyes or so. I'm just gonna go around. It's not even gonna be perfect either. I'm gonna cut them by hand, not with my Cricut. So I'm gonna make about 10 of these like that, and then we'll see how it comes out. So here we go. I just cut this out. I'm going to edge it in rhinestones and design it to look like an eye, but look at how hard it is. And it's flexible, but it's not going to come apart. See how thin it is? And yet it's got some real substance. So I'll be making a whole bunch of these for a costume, and as well as all my gold stars, and then I will do a post showing what I've done with them, but hopefully this will inspire you to get started with some ultra hold interfacing. And don't worry if you mess up. There's a lot in that package. Usually it's sold by the 5-yard lot. So you can experiment a little bit, and you can try fusing it to other fabrics as well. You can try fusing it to flexible fabrics like cottons, or you can fuse it to plastics, you can fuse it to foam, you can fuse it to pretty much anything, but make sure that it's double-sided, ultra hold, fusible, adhesive. All right, thanks so much. I hope that this was worth your time and energy, and feel free to let me know if there's a specific technique that you would like to see on next month's video. All right, bye.